Alright, so I've made the long-winded thingy here. Transformers. I'm rendering for YouTube the episode 5. It's on its way tonight. It's Monday. It was the 18th? What is it? 20th. The 20th. This is the 20th. Rendering out the episode. It's not really a day late if you consider the first 3 episodes that were about 8 days apart. It's about 8 days. It's about an hour, and it's really awesome. So I'm gonna post it. Next we have 6. Part 6 will be called Seekers in Space. Part 7, right here, will be called Retribution Darkness. Yeah, 6. I'm gonna be much briefer with the making of stuff, because I thought the other one was shorter with the making of stuff, but this was actually longer making of stuff than about as long as the episode. So try to make it short. Make it pithy. And now I want to say pithy, though. That sounds too much like a Fox thing. Don't like Fox. Fox is in the TV station. Yeah. No, not a fan. So here we have a 5th episode that deals with 6th episode that deals with the Autobots having been sacked. The other story ended with them having seized the Vengeance and then destroying it. But this one apparently starts with them escaping in the Vengeance and then destroying it. So it kind of already happened. So in this version, it's the Gambit that's been destroyed. So don't get used to the ship from the last story, because it's going to be completely screwed. Effed, destroyed, sacked. The beginning moments of this story. Also, the Draken Optimus Prime is going to have different things happen to him that in the story, because the Supreme Commander died, so there's no one that's next in line from the other movie primes. So would he be, well, the next stage up? He would be an official prime. Even though he's the reluctant hero of the story, he was an anti-hero when it started, and now he's a reluctant hero. This one is pretty straightforward. We have a lot of... basically, part 6 is they sack the shipyards. They go back to the shipyards to try and sack them. Punch becomes Counterpunch. Fire Tank is injured. Firebird is injured. Early on, just to be really messed up. We have Megatron, Soundwave. Apparently we have Galvatron has been awakened, and he has assembled a body. He has rebuilt the body of Maxis Carta. Well, he's somehow. I guess maybe he stole the body of Maxis Carta. That was like, because there's something, but he rebuilt it, and he's gonna try to put his spark back in him to be the hero guy. So we're gonna have Maxis Carta, and we're gonna have it doesn't appear that Optimus Prime is in this one. So yeah, it's possible that the Optimus Prime in this one gets sacked early on. The hero who went from episode 5. So also, yeah, so that leaves Cybertron extremely vulnerable. With the one movie Night Prime and the Cab Over Prime and Magnus, and there's hardly any, like, there's a lot more villains in this one. Soundwave, Megatron. I find Dark Mount still around, but in the end of the other story, we killed the purple guy, who was kind of representing Dark Mount, the Dark Saber guy. But was it not? Maybe it wasn't him. Yeah, there's another Decepticon that they know about. The plant that they mention, in other words, the plant that they mentioned in part 5 here, is not the one they were talking about. So there's another one. And he's on the ship. We're going to meet him. Also, we have Hence the Seeker. Yeah, we have not as many of the mini bots. We have a lot of the Detective Bot and Punch, and Max's Carta comes in there. Not at the same time. They go to the shipyards. Back to the shipyards. To try and stop the shipyards from launching the fleet, which is essentially similar to the Star Trek Picard a little bit. But it's also like Babylon 5. I think it's more Babylon 5. Because you have to figure that Picard's show comes this year, and that this guy was writing this in 1998. So he's thinking Deep Space Nine, Babylon 5, big fleet. Go to the fleet yards and stop the big fleet from launching. Star Trek kind of story. It's kind of self-contained, like 5 was. And they have to go to the fleet yards. So that's pretty much it. And do that before they launch to Cybertron, because otherwise if they launch to Cybertron and Earth, build up since part 4, they're going to just paste it and destroy it. They'll be screwed. The introduction of the Vector Prime character, who is in the script earlier on as Galacticus, and a number of other people, but it made it Vector Prime anyway. This is funnier. It's more on point, and it's more like the people reading it will understand. So yeah, so this is making of for part 6, and yeah, so we will begin production tomorrow on that, on the 6th act. I've been saying they're back to back, and that 6 and 7 would be back to back. And I mean it just because they've all been back to back. Like literally, this is in the can. This is rendering. This is going to go up on YouTube tonight. And literally tomorrow is day 1 of 6 episode shooting. Yeah, so to make this easier, page by page, easier, we will shoot linearly according to the script and not bounce around because it was harder to edit that. So yeah, we'll just, since the sets are basically a ruined ship, the Gambit in this case, it's a mess. The Gambit is a mess. They have to escape in the Slag Maker. Have, go to the shipyards. How are they even going to attack the shipyards in the Slag Maker? Well, that means they're the underdogs, so let's see how they do that. They also have Counter Punch comes back. Join up with Megatron. I'm assuming that there are other escape ships with the Slag Maker, because you figure that the Vengeance and the Gambit is probably... it was never described as one of the other ships, but I'm figuring it is kind of like them. It's smaller than the miles-long, huge, humongous Vengeance ship, which was 2 miles long. It's probably half a mile long, which is still really big. So they probably had escape ships and shuttles and things. So some of them get away, and to warn everybody. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of Autobots and a lot of Decepticons. We will find out that Draconis Prime early on will make a startling transformation. The very opening moments of the thing, the ruined bridge of the mothership. Yeah, so because you know that's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Yeah, so Seekers in Space. Seekers in Space. Now, and at some point, I suspect that because we've already introduced a version of the Predacons in Transformers Prime, and they sort of crossed over, and there's sort of a time trap thing on that show, that it would be fun to have near the end of this to introduce the Maximals, and Max's Carta is a hint of the Maximals. That's a hint. Also, it's a couple of weeks after the other story. Again, a couple of weeks later. It has to be due to what they're doing, and then they're in the middle of like another disaster story, because that was the one where we wrecked the mothership. The mothership doesn't return Regis Maximus until 7. They launch the Regis Maximus to go fight the bad guys. I don't think she transforms again though. I think she just like goes out again. They go to Cybertron, Yeah, if we show any more of those video game footage, it's gonna look weird. Um, anyway, so yeah, that's my review. That went on too long anyway. About what's going on 6 and a little bit of 7. 7, they go to Earth. Cybertron and Earth. I included in part 5 a little bit more of Megatron and Galvatron just to put more people on the ship. Basically, it had basically almost no villains, and you had this Decepticon tricking people, hiding in plain sight. So there was we got the Decepticon guy and that thing, and actually, strangely enough, the plot device of that. My 84-year-old mother keeps interrupting filming the stories, and she and she was out there on the set. She walked in on the set a couple of times, and was doing the mystery part with the bad guy, and it was all like, "Oh, you're doing like a murder mystery, kind of like you're gonna find the murderer and stuff." Yeah, I like those third act ones where the bad guy. It's the bad guy. It's the least expected dude in the corner. And I said, I'm gonna do that. So yes, mother gets credit for the bad guy's reveal at the end, because she likes murder mysteries. So there's like the murderer. Oh, they found out who the murderer was. Purple dude. The purple dude's the murderer. Okay, he's a big, mean-looking thing. So yeah, clunky-looking thing. Yeah, so that's funny. He's a murderer-looking dude. He looks murderous. Is it the red one or the purple one that's the bad guy? The purple one's the bad guy. Okay. But yeah, it was funny. Oops. And then they fought, and then things blew up, and you really couldn't tell what was going on until you actually rendered the scene, and then the scene of oh, that's what you were doing. Yeah, I was putting that together. Actually, yeah, it doesn't make sense when you see the dialogue and they're doing like the reviews and rehearsals and doing like dialogue like, oh, this guy's saying I'm Optimus Prime like 3 times or whatever, and then the bad guy says I'm the Decepticon 3 times. You don't know what's going on, but then when you put all that together, it's I am Optimus Prime and I'm Megatron and we're gonna fight. And then it totally makes sense because it's like, oh, yeah, it wasn't finished. Yeah. Well, usually, yeah, it didn't have any bloopers in the last one. There were a few funny scenes, but mainly it was a drama. It was a bottle show, even though it was on a planet. It was still on a ship. And we're still using that same stock footage over and over again, in case you didn't notice. But just keep manipulating it a little bit. Yeah, because we can't afford to actually purchase free actual expensive special effects. So, and this one didn't have any hand-to-hand really. So it didn't have any laser blasts at all in terms of the characters fighting in an open environment. Those are hard to film because then you got to dub in little blasts everywhere and pinpoint them on the screen. It's annoying in Photoshop. But yeah. So I rambled on, but it was funny that creative consultant, executive producer on the show is my mother, who keeps interrupting my videos, which is funny because that makes me like one of those attic or basement dwelling nerds. That although technically I'm not in the attic anymore, yeah, and on the first floor, I'm not in the basement. There's no basement, so not really in the attic. I'm really right in the middle of the action. Down here in the runabout room. Only called that because it's about the size of the runabout the Jacques is inside. Yeah, so it appears the battleship has been unknowingly rebuilding Max's Carta, which is funny. Why? I don't know. I'm not sure why he would do that. I'm not sure why the other Prime died, or if he did, or what, or what's up with that. I suspect that his spark is around, though. It's going to help things out later on. Maybe. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the early part 6. Yeah, got it. April 21st, making of scene 240, page 247, scene 6, episode 6. We're going to cut to the bridge to do the bridge first. It's 2 pages in or so. A couple pages in, 3 pages in, just because we want to do the distressed bridge of the slag maker, which is escaping from the gambit. And that's what's going on here. So the gambit has been screwed before the story started, and this is the slag maker escaping with the others. Mid attack. We don't know what happened to them. So let's do that. Little making of interjection here. We're doing books 6 and 7, filming them both together. That means we're going to film all the way through 7. And that's what we're going to do. So this is 6 and the Vengeance. Note that the Vengeance scene where everybody gets together and they leave the shipyards continues into part 7. Instead of having an extra leader of 20 minutes of like extra stuff that we threw in, this won't have that. So 5 minutes into the next chapter, they leave the dockyards, and Max's Carta shows up and they leave the dockyards. Max's Carta warns them about the dockyards. So 5 minutes into part 7, that's where you cut this and make it. That's part 6. Because like in episode 1 and 2, the transition between 1 and 2 didn't really match up. 3 and 4 sort of did. 5 sort of did. 5 was almost one story. But we did add a little bit of... well, it wasn't filler. I'm going to say filler. No, we added a little bit of necessary dialogue. It does change things because the Vengeance is not destroyed in the last act. Apparently, the story was carried on to this act to attack the shipyards, and I thought that that seemed a little strange considering they defeated one of the bad guys. But then it becomes clearer in this story that there's another bad guy. That there are 2 bad guys. So in part 5, you probably figured it out, that the plant they were talking about was another Transformer other than the other Decepticon with the purple armor who was in the command bay and attacked them. That was something else Galvatron and Megatron put in there. Galvatron knew about it. Megatron had it in there. The Galvatron was out cold through the whole thing, couldn't tell them. Apparently, Rodimus goes back to the shipyards with Galvatron somehow. So this story begins with them gone, with apparently it's possible the Gambit was destroyed or escaped or left them as the crew of the Slag Maker. The Slag Maker is large. It's a big ship, but it's not as big as the Gambit. It's smaller. It clearly was from the visuals as well. It was smaller. It's big though. It's just smaller. It's probably a little bigger than Regis Maximus. It's not a Transformer though. And Sideways is not in this, and Tunk Tank or Bulkhead is not in this because he's over in the on the Regis Maximus. Hopefully we didn't have any shots of him because he's not supposed to be there. So yeah, he's not. He's in part 7. He's introduced in part 7. The rest of part 7 after the 5 minutes in is the attack on Cybertron, the big finish, the ship porn. That's just a term for like ships going everywhere. There's no sex. Yeah, and we have the Maximal girl in the beginning. We're going to shoot all of the bridge stuff if we can on the Slag Maker. It's called the Vengeance in the script. It's a Slag Maker. And get them all the way into page 5 of part 7. And then stop. And then say, okay, the other Slag Maker later is rebuilt. So that bridge doesn't matter what that looks like. Yeah. It's a different bridge. They've refit it. So, yeah. If that's used at all, if it isn't just like the other ship, it could be. The ship's kind of a mess. They attack the Decepticon fleet yards. Also, we meet another ship out there. I think what's going on is they're not on the space station so much as they're on a command ship that's flying around. Possibly the one from the last story that escaped. So they could be on the Destructor, which would be funny. That that Galvatron is possessed by the ghost, or inspired by the ghost, let's say, to rebuild the body of Maxis Carta in order to get rid of him, so that he can be with him anymore, so they can later kill him. so yeah, Maxis Carta is on his way back. His footage will be shot. So this is kind of a rundown of all that. Marker, page 279, arrival at the shipyards. It's mainly commands barked out to the officers. Evasive gunners track on missile launches is not written, but remember that it's there. So let's do this. Okay, April the 23rd, I think? 23rd, yeah. I think that's what it is. Yeah, this is the opening scene from the movie. There's a little bit of a leader in the beginning of this. So this would be the part that you would show in the trailer. Opening scene to book 6. So, yes, we have rocketed through most of the bridge scenes. Actually, all of the Autobot bridge scenes are done. We have Regis Maximus and the ship. Mainly, that's what we did. Regis Maximus, and it's been renamed. In the script, it said it's the Vengeance. We blew up the Vengeance in the last episode. No, it's the Slag Maker that came to rescue them. So it's a little bit smaller than the Vengeance, but still, it is a slag maker. It kicks ass. It blows up a bunch of stuff. But there's a Decepticon bad guy who is on the ship. There were 2 bad guys at the end of part 5. They killed one of them when the ship, the Vengeance, blew up. They didn't kill the other one. This Titan is on the ship. It's one of the Titan Masters. It's not supposed to be Scorponok. It's a dude that's named Death Grip. And he is on the ship. Fans of Corrosion of War without End might recognize it's a Scorponok toy because we don't have a Death Grip. They didn't make one, so it's a Scorponok toy. And Scorponok is they did kind of make one though. The black Scorponok from the alternate universe timeline and the Shattered Glass is basically Death Grip. So yes, they did make it. They also made a Night Racer during that time period. So yes, I know my history back there. They made one. But I don't have one. I have a Scorponok. So, and Scorponok is menacing them. And this is the leading into the opening scene. The menacing part is not in the script. The Birdicon is already messed up at the beginning of the script. But I thought to explain just a little bit of what happened. So let's go there and film the scene. And also there's a little bit of a nod to Transformers the movie in here. Which is awesome. And the Maximals. So you'll see. And that leads us up to the beginning of the script for part 6. Give me a hand. Stand back. We'll get him out of there. Yep. 244. So the idea is that it was a David and Goliath thing, but except Davida and Goliath. And she knocked him over. But unlike the traditional, he falls forward from the slingshot effect thing, or he falls backward, I decided to have him fall sideways. Just to take the middle of the road. There he is. He's not supposed to be Scorponok. Mind you, he's supposed to be someone else. In fact, I'll address that. Also, what's kind of a funny nod is if you look at the earlier footage from episode 1, and they're on the Shrybat planet, there's a Shrybat that looks exactly like her alternate robot form flying around. And, yeah. So, actually, Rashi's in the very beginning of the story. But as somebody else. Rashi's there, but she's somebody else. Yeah, even though Raksha was probably a guy. Yeah. Anyway, so... But Rakshi, the Destroyer. Now she's Rakshi, the Maximal. Because they introduced the Predacons, I thought, let's introduce the Maximal. Anyway, that's real brief. let's go on to the other stuff. Okay, this is scene 248, episode, page 248, 6, section 6 of the script. This is the sure shot scene in the sort of the med bay, and yeah. So the infirmary, yeah, she has no legs. They're building new ones for her. So let's do this. Now, because she's a robot, the very next time we see her, they've put new legs on her. But still, her mind is still kind of messed up. So, yeah, because she's a robot. So, it doesn't stay that way for long. Anyway, action. Okay, this is going to be 275 of story 6. They're being discovered trying to steal a cargo ship, apparently. So, yeah. So, what this is, I believe, book 6. Page 252, we're finishing up the Decepticon footage now. And it's the first introduction of, it's very brief, of Maxis Carta arguing with a ghost. But he doesn't, it's all no dialogue, so it's all like that. So we can't use any of that. So, but the next page is Galvatron pondering himself. But he gets pondering himself. So let's do that. So this is going to be a little addition, just a little, to establish, because that scene is really brief, to establish that he's been doing stuff with a body that he's been building. So yeah, we have Galvatron, who was behind them the whole time. And he turns around, and he's like, oh shit, Galvatron. So here is the scene in which, for some reason, it's in the script, that Galvatron has rebuilt Rodimus Prime as a fully functioning Autobot, so he can put a spark in him. He doesn't know what he's doing, but yeah. So he has probably told them that the body is actually like. Anyway, so this is 260. Act 6. Story 6. I'm burping. 260. 6. 260. And this is the arrival at the shipyards of Counterpunch, essentially getting authorization to land and meeting up with Megatron, the prisoner. It's right after Prepare the Prisoner. So it's right after that. So, literally right after that. So they're messing with the Autobot. Actually, the scene with the Decepticons messing with the other guy and saying Galvatron is back could technically be before that. You can move that up to the shipyard scene just because you do that. No. Yeah, there's some just of note in here. It's odd, it's in the script. I'm going to film it, but it is odd that Galvatron would openly tell his fleet's plans to a newcomer that just shows up. It would be like the villain in a Bond film going like, ah, yes, James Bond, ha, I will tell you my evil plan, ha. If that's the gag, then okay, fine, but kind of weird for him to do that. I'm just so you know. Okay, since we're still in production on the 24th, this is not a scene pickup, this is rather still in production. So this is the Decepticons responding to Megatron's order to go to hyperspace. It is in the script. So we're going to go there. It's the end of 6. The very end of 6. We're going to go to hyperspace and meet him. So this is just kind of the Seekers. Because otherwise the name of the episode doesn't make sense. Here, yeah, there they are. No, they do absolutely nothing in the next one. Anyway, let's do the scene. This is part 6, so yeah. So here we are, last of the scenes in the part 6. That was the last moment, part 6, that we didn't shoot yesterday. This is the Decepticon ship. It's the Conquest, and they're headed for Cybertron. That's basically all that is. So we're going to go on next to all the Decepticon Conquest scenes, and then we're going to go back and do all the Autobot scenes on the same set. So yeah, let's do that. Going to B-roll camera. Alright, so we have... Okay, we have Wreck-Gar saying, stay on the main guns. 282. No, when you go back to this, Prime ordered a lot of the missiles fire, most of them. So, yeah, they did, but nothing happened. So we have to go. So go back before that other scene. Put in part about the missiles. In script, ending part 6. We're not going to end it with main guns are down, sir. We're going to end it with five pages into part 7, because that's kind of what we have to do. The ending doesn't break correctly, so yeah. Because yeah, turns directly toward. This is part 7. Part 7 is called Retribution Darkness. Retribution Darkness, and yeah. So that little tidbit in there, a little tidbit on the end with Rodimus showing up, is the end of book 6. In the script, it's the beginning of book 7, but it makes way more sense to make that the cliffhanger at the end of book 6, at least in book 7. And have you go like, oh, hell yes. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, he's back. This time, no force. I could put that in there. I should put that gag in there. Well, I'm back, and this time, no force in the universe will stop me. B-roll unit. B-roll unit stuff. On the set, B-roll unit stuff. This is... Well, it's still technically the movie. It's just B-roll units. We're still in part 6. We're still going along with the escape of Maxis Carta. He continues to try to escape. And shortly he will run into, I think, Counterpunch. And him and Counterpunch leave together. But he hasn't run into him yet. Galvatron chased him. It's been a while, so he's chasing him. That was one of the scenes, but I did it a little differently. In the scene immediately before, there's a few lines missing. In the scene immediately before the Decepticon Bay is being evacuated, these two guys, when he goes to the other ship to find him, to find Punch, there's actually a minute or two in there where he goes to him and does other stuff and knows where he is and stuff. So before they go to the other ship, there's supposed to be a scene in there where he talks to him. And he says, come on. Got to get out of here. I know where there's a ship. And so yeah, that's just a little bit of that extra scene. That brings us up to Megatron's base getting screwed as they prepare to leave. Okay. Yeah. Okay, crossfire trap scene. This is literally a page away from the end of this. Megatron is on the central core area, and Soundwave says Central Defense Core compromised. Automated defenses malfunctioning. A lot of stuff is happening to him. Okay. Scene 290. Last scene with the Decepticons in part 6. Last scene in part 6. And we're going to part 7 immediately, because it's all connected. So, last scene in part 6. Here we have the guys, and oh my god, making so much noise. And we have the guys, and we're going to do the guys. So here is Galvatron's line, continue firing until the ships are clear. Okay, so technically, this is the end of book 6. Part 6. And we're going to start off with part 7. I'm not going to go into a long making of diatribe on part 6. I wanted to make it very concise, go through all 2 back-to-back. And yeah, so part 6 is now done. Most of part 7 is done. We are now going to do the stuff that starts into part 7 that's still part of 6, basically. Start before they go on the conquest. That is still in part 6, so we're going into that now. Making of in part 7, they haven't gone to the conquest yet. The ship is still targeting them, so they're still there. This is into part 7. It's literally the same scene, but it's a little later, and they haven't gone to the conquest. The command center that they're in is being confronted. Since then, so this is part 7. But it's going to be counted as the end of 6. It's 292,
and it is, yeah, Retribution Darkness. But yeah, it's the bridge scene that's the end of the other story. So here we go. That was 294, which brings us up to their space fold thing that they're going to do in a minute. Okay, this is going to be 314. The refit bridge as much as they could. It's been a time jump of some time. Doesn't say what. They've made it to Cybertron. Well, they said like 4 or 5 days. I'm thinking the shipyards. And I'm doing this in making of. Yeah. So I'm thinking the shipyards are probably close to Cybertron. It only took them a week to get there. So yeah, it's only been a few days, and they've made some repairs. Action. Okay, I went through the film and through all of 7, found all the ship scenes involving all the bridge crew, and determined that, I've marked out the bridge crew, determined that this scene with the bridge crew meeting kind of needs to be shot now and then go to the bridge, because this is the meat of book 7. So let's do the bridge crew meeting room scene. Yeah. So let's do that. Okay, and they're all arguing. Allegedly. Rabble, 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 rabble. Grumble, grumble. What? Grumble, grumble. What? Are you kidding me? Grumble, grumble. Okay. Enough of that. Alright, so we have Prime screaming quiet to open the scene. Quiet! Dang it. You darn foot and hot, bootin' tender feet. You hot putting foot and tender feet. So during 314, the arrival of the Slagmaker brings us 23 to 314, basically. Giving cover fire to the Regis Maximus. There's no dialogue in here about that, so note that. So I'm not filming any extra dialogue about that. Yeah, so let's go to the Regis Maximus fell. Oh shit, on the planet? It's basically fucked. Okay, we're gonna just play this off like this is already happening and they're joining the battle. They're in another ship. So that's what's gonna happen. So this is page 329. It's before it's 3 minutes to shield failure on the planet. It is suicide run. It is without weapons. So it is right after all the escape ships escape. So they're in one of the escape ships. So they're fleeing the mothership. She's been damaged in the battle. She's dying. And this is that. Action. Real brief quickie update. We filmed all the scenes involving Regis Maximus in 7. There weren't any in 6. So that's the quickie update. And we're going to break the set. Done for the evening. And that has been filming of the Corrosion of War that end. Well, we're back to back. Go back and do all the Decepticon bridge stuff and the Decepticon ship stuff and all that other stuff. First, tomorrow they have to go back to part 6 and film all of the Autobots discussing things and background stuff from part 6 to assemble part 6 of all the extra stuff, including the rescue and all that stuff. So that's it. Corrosion of War that end. Yeah. I hope they turn off that water soon, but this is just the scene of Prime drunk off his ass. Oh god, I've had so much liquor. Space liquor. And we are continuing with the filming. We are on page 322. Megatron is still hovering over Autobot headquarters. Okay, B-roll footage. B-roll footage tonight, this evening. Book 7. And we're going back to back. And we're on the Regis Maximus. Refit Regis Maximus. And she's trying to transform. And she's transformed, but she's still kind of screwed up. So Sideways is going to try to talk her into coming online. All we really need to do is read Sideways talking to her. Let's have him turn to him talking to the ship and what he's saying to her, her response. So this is 311 and 312. So this scene is Sure Shot and Firebird joining the battle. And when they join the battle, it is in part 7. So note that it's part 7. And they are basically screwed because they've been involved in the battle. So, yeah. So they're supposed to have a new life together, that's said at the end. So they didn't really die, but we wanted to kill one of them. So, yeah. So there was a battle. Their ship is pretty banged up. And they've come through just as right about when air flight, it's a 329, and it's the air flight was on that ship line. It's going to be uttered by these two instead. The Vengeance has just okay, this is a test ending. It's not the official ending, it's a test ending. Of Book 7, in which they meet on the bridge after they've rescued Prime from space. They blasted out of the top of the enemy ship and drift in space. And they rescued him. They rescued him with an Autobot ship, presumably that was out there. Filmed that one. Most of the other ships are on the ground, so there has to be some other ship that went in and rescued him. Maybe it was the captain's yacht. But it had an airlock, so it was probably one of the other ships that was just in range. Found them. Presumably that was a little later anyway. So here is this scene. Okay, this is the bridge of the Regis Maximus. Do that stuff. It's not very much. So. These are his crew. Instead of Tunk Tank, you've got Hound. Got some other ones in there, but yeah, you got a Bumblebee, you've got a Blur, you've got Springer, you've got playing Grottusk. You've got Sandstorm at tactical and maybe engineering over there. And then you got Silverbolt, who looks more like Airflight or Lexius. But we didn't want to use him because he would have been too small in the wrong scale. But yeah, so there we go. There's the crew. Okay, part 7. Part 7, page 302. Part 7, page 302. And rolling. And the Decepticon. Actually, no. Part 7, page 301. We're not doing the Autobot scenes yet. Just the Decepticon. Part 7, page 301, and Soundwave being bored. Lord Megatron, the ship's opposition to destroy the Autobots. He would have said shut up there, but quiet is funnier. It's in the script, so we'll go with what I was, making of briefly. 305. They're wondering why they're on the other stuff that was filmed, the script, why they're being ignored. But there probably was a dialogue like that in an earlier draft of it that said, well, for some reason they're concentrating on Prime. So I just went with it. I said, this dialogue probably had an ending. It just got edited out. And there's your endpoint. It works. It totally works. And it establishes why Regis Maximus is what he is. Although in the script it wasn't supposed to be Starscream. But since, Armada and all those other shows came out, and Cybertron, the Unicron trilogy, sure, why not? Totally could be. In fact, a lot of those newer robots are the robots in this series. Because as a lot of us fans envisioned out in the universe, the series came back like gangbusters by 96 as Beast Wars. And by 99 it was cemented in with the Beast Machines not being as popular, and then Car Robot and all those. But then in 2002, Japanese companies got together with the other ones, and they made the Unicron trilogy. And all the way till 2006, before they announced the coming of the movie, a live-action movie with Michael Bay, that movie series that lasted 5 movies. Transformers had gone from geekdom to a household name, and Transformers are actually not niche anymore. They are actually like extremely popular. Even though those Michael Bay movies are cheesy, but they made a lot of money. So, and these are two Megatrons actually from the Unicron trilogy. So it's full circle right there. Yeah, and some of these guys look a little bit like the Rob Powers characters, which is even cooler. They even have a sound wave that kind of resembles his little, like, scatter, not, what's the guy's name? Searchlight Focus or whatever. So there he is. Yeah. They made every conceivable Transformer. Hundreds of them. I got a lot of them, but yeah. So yeah, there's some making of stuff for you. Making of stuff. It kind of ends with nothing there. Like, they don't fight the ship. The Maximus Reed. Forever Regis Maximus transformed, but they realize that he's damaged, so he really can't do much. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so this is just them backing away from that. Looking at it. Stunned. Kind of like, oh my. Okay, I want a slight revision to this scene. That's in the script. It says here that 3:30... that all these other bridge crew are still on the bridge. But there's an overload going on, and they clearly can't be on the bridge. So, yeah, there's that. So, yeah, they wouldn't be. They would have gone to the escape pod. So, yeah, they're not on the bridge with him. Yeah. So, yeah, this is back-to-back, 6 and 7. I went and did all of the ship scenes involving the former Vengeance, now Slagmaker ship. It's one of his ships. The Slagmaker made more sense. It's a Slagmaker. I did all that stuff. I did all the way up to Draco Prime's appearance, which I wanted to do yesterday, but couldn't get around to today. And that's just his armor to get off the ship. So actually, scientifically, it kind of makes sense. I mean, it is a cartoon kind of thing, but it makes sense that he has, like, Draconis Prime armor. If you put that on and then was blown out of the ship when it exploded, it's conceivable the armor would have protected him long enough for them to pull him into another ship from deep space. Yeah. So that was what I was conveying there about that they and it's in the script that they rescued him from deep space. So I just did it a little slightly different than in the script. I think it works though. Yeah. I think it works. So I'm going to put these renders in the computer and we'll have a look at them. This is the shoot for the day, I guess. Almost. Well, let's see what else there is. Anyway, so yeah. It's the 22nd. Yeah. Yeah, most of book 7 is war that's on ships, just people on ships fighting back and forth. All that stock footage we got from that. But actually that's from some video games, assorted movies, and mostly Asian manga anime movies. A little bit of Star Wars thrown in there, but tried not to include that. But yeah, there's yeah. So this is looks like mainly it's from Yamato and like stuff. A little bit of Mass Effect thrown in there. But yeah, well, if the Picard show can rip off Mass Effect, I guess we can borrow footage from it. But yeah, so yeah, space Drago Optimus battle armor thing, cool kind of scene. It kind of defeats the purpose of the self-sacrifice thing that he wants to do, but if you think of it as like he's not in his right head anyway, because the martyrdom of the soldier thing, there's another camp that says, well, okay, martyrdom is great, but I guess if you happen to be a certain kind of, soldier person, but if, or in a war or something, but actually it's better to survive the war so that you can fight and train other people. It's better to live again, to fight another day. Sometimes that's better than that sacrifice. It's better to fight another day, and yeah, and then you're not gone. So, in a sense, by choosing to put on the armor, he basically says, okay, it's this robot samurai thing, that he will go out in a blaze of glory. And, darn it, if he survives, then fine, but if he doesn't, then fine. But it appears that that the power of the Matrix intervened to an extent. We heard Alpha Trion's voice say in the background, "Your time is not yet, Prime, something like that." Which is because it wasn't. So he doesn't. Yeah, so that's a scene reveal. But assuming that you're watching the whole series over and over again, it's not really giving away anything. Yeah, because he was gonna do that. You gonna tell he was gonna do that. This point in the series is leading to those other points in the series. Yeah. So yeah, if you're watching making of for 6 and 7, you will find spoilers, but presumably you're not. You're going to watch the movie and then watch the making later. But even if you did, it wouldn't really give away all that much. You say, okay, how do we get to that point? It's not like the journey to getting to that point isn't the point, as opposed to the actual ending. And no, there's no giant cities going at it at the end. They don't do that. And they don't have the Legis Centurio and the Legis Maximo fighting each other at the end. So how would they do that? Yeah, it's not even in the script like that. So pretty much I shot 6 and 7, or shooting 6 and 7 in the middle of it. And I pretty much shot it to the point that they need to get through the script as it is, the 90 minutes that is part 1 and the 90 minutes that's part 2, or 6 and 7. And we'll see what happens, basically. And so far, it's tight enough that it does. So we're going to go through, do the other ship scenes, lock that. I just thought I'd go on for a little while longer on that, just because, okay, that's what's next. Part 7 is mainly the ship portion. It's the space battle. Space battle here, space battle there, another ship. And it's got to all be dynamic and interesting. I did change some of the characters that appeared at the end, because I thought that Night Racer and the others in the script would evacuate the ship. They would get out of there, and that it wouldn't be them that stay behind. It would be the other ones. It would be Windblade and the other ones that show up to help them that do that instead. So that we have sort of these are the other ones, the peripheral characters that didn't want to have much to do with the others in the other episode. So by having them in this part, having them decide, we are going to go out with this guy, and we're going to help him to accomplish his mission and give him his armor. That was like, okay, that actually works. The reveal of the wall hidden and all that. The wall fell over. Looks a little cardboardy, yeah, but maybe they put up a cardboard wall there. But yeah, their armor was behind the wall the whole time. But yeah, sure. But yeah, I think, and we get to see the Slagmaker's actual bridge, and it's revealed that the pod ship, the captain's yacht, is where they were signaling them from whenever they called them. Not the bridge, the captain's yacht the whole time. During the other episodes, they took the yacht, and the main characters took the yacht, they escaped, and then the secondary characters showed up, and they're the ones that helped save the day. Yeah. And they are fighting 12 ships, so yeah. So that is something. It's just not a whole super fleet of hundreds of ships, because really, you don't need hundreds of ships going out on hundreds of other ships. It would be like, the Revenge of the Sith. You wouldn't be able to tell what's going on. Although some of that battle was cool, but yeah, it's like you can't tell who's fighting who, and why are they fighting, and why are they fighting. Anyway, so yeah. Or like Discovery's battle scene in that Battle of the Binary Stars, which was supposed to be Axanar, while they were fighting around in the space, and you couldn't tell, really could not tell what was going on. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I think I do know what they're thinking. The assets didn't work, and they were blurry, so they just kind of didn't show them so much. You could tell when Trek Yard tried to blow them up. Yeah, yeah. So we have Sideways. Of course, we have Sideways as the captain, but let's just start going and just don't film too far up, because you can kind of tell. Yeah. So we're gonna start filming. Okay. It's not Windblade and Adamacon. Well, it is Windblade because we haven't seen her in a while. It's not Adamacon. It's that weird bat chick. She shows up, Batgirl. And they're on the bridge with him, and he's like, "Oh shit, you guys got to get out of here because you're gonna die." That's what's going to happen. So that's 3:30, 7. So this is a little later. I'm going to do this. Say goodbye to the kid for me. This is a little later in the story. Probably after the rescue ships haven't quite found Prime yet, because then he shows up and says she's dead. Starting in book 7, this line got left out. It's kind of important, directly toward the line. So, pickup scenes. End of part 6, beginning of part 7, and then all of the scenes involving this ship in part 7. There aren't that many. We'll do all the part 7 battle scenes with this ship. This is in the script it was the Slagmaker of the Vengeance, but now it's been changed to the Slagmaker because we blew up the Vengeance in the last one. It was more dramatic that way. So it's just another ship that stands in for the ship that was there. Okay, this is the redressed bridge. They're dressed to look like the end of the last act, and yeah, it wouldn't change that much. Yeah, so the front part is slightly smaller, but all of the back is exactly as it was in the other script. A little cleaner. But yeah, so we're going to do those 2 lines that were in there originally, and we missed those 2 lines. These are not pickup scenes because this is shooting, so they're not pickup scenes. Yeah, they wouldn't be considered that. So here we go. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that was the scene, and there's a block there. We didn't film that. But yeah, the idea was those 2 little lines of dialogue, and since we were going to redress the ship set anyway, or put it up to do the rest of the ship's dialogue, why not do those 2 scenes that were left out? Yeah, so the bloopers weren't funny yesterday. No, they were sort of like, oh, this got screwed up, that screwed up over there. Yeah, as long as we don't linger too much, let's go. And now we have the him giving them the bad news. The main guns are down. They've damaged the power out settings. Well, part 7. The lending scene with the guys, that's part 7. It's in the can. 6 and 7 were filmed back to back and throughout. We filmed all of the scenes involving the Regis Maximus and the Autobot ship, the recovered Slagmaker, which wasn't the Vengeance in the script. It was changed to the Slagmaker. We filmed. Then we went on and did all of the bridge scenes involving the Decepticon ship and then the Autobot base. Put all that together over the course of the 2 stories. Added all the backstory stuff. We did that. We actually took yesterday to do all of the meat in between the story, all the stories where the characters had some character development. We basically finished the story arc of Sure Shot, and also his paramour. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a later discussion as to what was going on with all that stuff. That'd be fun. Yeah, at the Adamacon con. So we'll have a discussion about the nature of the characters and what was going on. Well, that'll be fun, but not here. I just wanted to do the making of thing because we've alluded to a lot of stuff that isn't in the movie. So, but this ending scene I thought actually makes it punchier in that we have this sort of extra thing they were looking for, the data thing they were looking for, they never really found. They kept showing like different plot twists and spies and counter spies and all that. And I thought it would be fun to have the data that they didn't find that was inside Windblade, that the data was actually the spark of Rakshi. The data would like turned into the spark of Rakshi, or infused in it somehow as the result of the nebula skip. Because they said that the joining was similar to that in terms of its energy. So what happened if that whole thing was like, that's how she hid it? She hid the spark in her own in her body and brought it to the ship. And it was there the whole time. The means to destroy the bad guy that was on the ship. It's kind of an elaborate, over-the-top thing. It's in the script, but I embellished on it. There's another bad guy. There was like one bad guy. There should be two. There's not enough bad guys. Actually, there's three. Technically, the other guy's four. Of the two. Also, since this does seem a lot like the Picard show, as if the Picard show, like, people read Corrosion of War that end. I mean, the script's been online forever, since the 90s, so you could actually conceivably read it as far back as at least 2003, and they could have read it. The prisoners act like the two Romulans, except in my version, I made them better than the villains as the two Romulans. I made them actually have personalities and gave them a sort of backstory so that they were more fleshed out. That's why it was a little longer than the 7 parts. It was a little longer than the script because I wanted to flesh out all the villains to make them genuinely villainous and antagonistic, and not just have them be like oh yeah, we have villains and they're scary and they have twiddling mustaches and they're evil. Made Galvatron and Megatron have a personality thing. Galvatron's kind of the lesser Megatron who's running around and he's unsure of what he's doing. There's a lot of clones and parallels. They can discuss that later. But yeah, there's Jetfire didn't get to do much because he's expensive. Didn't want to break him. So basically, he's just walking around in robot mode the whole time. That's why. So we have a scene similar to the Picard show. It's kind of a silly scene where the two robots were tricked into letting Narek, the Romulan, go. They go to this robot planet and they let him go. And then he just gets away at the end and they don't address it at the end of the movie. What happened to him? In this version, they do address what happened to the two captured Decepticons. This one, they apparently are horribly killed at the end of the story. Although Autobots wouldn't do that, Rockshi the Destroyer totally would do that. So even though she was all heroic in the beginning and for the voice of Primus and everything, she was kind of a bad guy. So you're not supposed to root for her necessarily. I wanted to give the ending more so than the layers. I wanted to multi-layer it. I wanted Draconis Prime to be more of a parable of a reluctant leader who is mistakenly originally lost, going around just randomly blowing away Decepticons. He shouldn't do that. He goes to the planet. He has like an epiphany, and he becomes a kind of a pseudo pacifist, but he doesn't know how to do that. Ends up doing a battle, doing a story arc. I can arrange that. I can talk about that later. But yeah, he was sort of a reluctant hero in the script. And there had to be others there too. It couldn't just be one or two guys. The whole thing is a dozen people. Dozen robots, basically, as people. On either side, doing stuff. And that's not a whole fleet of thousands. That's just a dozen people. It's the Dirty Dozen. It's the Magnificent Seven. It's it's those classic Western stories where they do something. Even this ending here with the jail cell is a classic Western trope they totally would have done in something like that, or an old Dirty Harry movie from the 80s. They totally would have done that gag. They would have been like, well, the hero, we don't want to let Dirty Harry kill the bad guy, but we're okay with you doing it. It's like, okay. It's into these two cartoonish movie villains that aren't killed by Lindblade because that would be messed up, but because that would be too obvious. So what happened if it was Night Racer that arranged for it and then conveniently is knocked out at the end? There is not an episode 8. He didn't make another one. He made other stories that were based loosely on some of the characters, but there is no episode 8 for Rob Powers. No. It's just 7. Yeah, the novel is finished. The epic is finished. Apparently, learned since then that there are a few stories following the War Without End comic book that people have done with their stop-motion toys. Pretty cool. But yes, some of them are actually pretty cool. They're not as ambitious as this one, though. Not like a 50-minute episode epic for 5 50-minute segments for a mini-series. It was like ridiculous. It's awesome, though. So yeah, it's awesome. So, yeah. I'm going to talk more about it later. But yeah, the miniseries, the epicness of the whole thing, the Adamacon thing. Also, Autobots acting. And yeah, it's like the line between good and evil is blurred. The story. It's been decimated by the corrosion of war. I took that literally in some ways. And I wanted sort of a comeuppance to the bad guys. Megatron's comeuppance, his story arc ended with sort of a non-battle in which he does do a lot of battle, but that he doesn't win, of course, because that would be like Beast Machines. Anyway, that's it. You. You let them escape? You let them escape?
Here he comes.
Oh. Stop. Should be on the Conquest, but I don't think he's on the Conquest yet. Yeah, in this version he's not on the ship yet. Continue firing until the other ships get clear. Come on. You. Again.
So we revived him just like another crew member? Stupid us. So we revived him just like another crew member? Stupid us. So we revived him just like another crew member? What are you doing? How did he manage to get through the crew rosters? I thought you processed each crew member as they were reactivated. How did he manage to get through the crew rosters?
What? And rolling and scene 6-1A1 Act 1 action. It's a little too bright in here. I think I want to make it a little darker in here. No, that's too dark. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little too bright in the cargo. Oh. Incoming vessel, transmit ID frequency. Thank you. That was actually funny.
And rolling. What? Okay, we still rolling.
Did I get? Yes. Yeah, I don't know why that other shit is on. Why is that there? I don't know. I hope it's not a fuck up. Okay. What's the next line?
I think you got one, yeah. I don't even think it was recording. Wait. Let me get to the end of that block.
In fact, what the hey? Oh, dude. The bodies have been mutilated. Yeah. Stop. I hope they turn off that water soon, but this is just the scene of a prime drunk off his ass. Oh God, I've had so much liquor. Space liquor. Yes. Of course, not the end of the whole thing. This is just the battle with the prime. Let me. Okay.
You two